Now we have a new chapter of Shin Kurosawa, the new Kurosawa. I feel so blessed whenever we get to return to this wonderful man and his many unfortunate adventures. Currently, of course, he is posing as a monk in order to help entertain two brash and obnoxious, self-centered and self-indulgent industry leaders from America, Mr. Gas and Mr. Gasoline. And I wonder what will happen next. Maybe 30 years old, it's good for drinking whiskey. Me, I'm 54 years old and no good. This is really behavior and speech unbecoming of a monk. I wonder if he can get away with this. Mr. Gasoline, trying to help him out. You're so dirty, it's like you ain't even a priest at all. Yep, now you got it. That's right. But they gotta keep the charade going. What's wrong with being worldly? I'm living my life. Of course I'm gonna be worldly. Master Shonen is just too dried up. You know, those American girls go away earlier too. Can't you take a goddamn hit? Yeah, girls. This plan didn't make any sense from the start, which is what I love. That from the start, them trying to get Kurosawa, like they had good intentions. It made sense from their perspective, but it was so doomed. And now that he's drunk, it's becoming so obvious that this was just bound to happen. That he'd start mouthing off. That he'd start insulting the people that are supposed to be his monk senpai. And this guy, it's another boring ass goody two shoes. Of course. Hold your anger, Master. Kokunan is correct, is he not? We are both virtuous yet inflexible. Oh man, this is brutal for him. His finest punk. Oh no! Oh my god. Kurosawa reading into it like a yaoi fangirl, like a fujoshi. He can't help but ship the monks. Oh, Kurosawa. Keep it together. Times like these when you should calm down and recite the sutras. So he starts reciting sutras. Kanjis. I'm not going to recite sutras. Do this anymore. I'm teaming up with you guys. After all, you guys are honest. I'm glad. Have a drink. And here's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who has been in the scene the entire time, just out of panel. and of course, again, let's talk a little bit about how Fukumoto depicts things. Because normally, we have big establishing shots of the entire room, right? Oh, he shows up here, sorry. The minister does show up on page 2 briefly. But that's the only panel. That's the only panel. When normally we would be treated to a nice top down of the entire room by Fukumoto. So I think this is intentional. I think it's very intentional that he chose to frame this kind of limited viewpoint to keep the Minister of Foreign Affairs out of as many shots as possible. Even in this one that he shows up, half of him is obscured by Kurosawa's text bubble. That's hilarious. And it's because he's just been sitting here the entire time, totally unable to do anything. Thinking like, what am I even here for? This has gotten so out of hand. Something I always wanted to ask people to dig up the oil. Isn't global warming? Woo! Woo! Go off! Go off, Kurosawa! I'm sorry I told you to get it together and keep it in check just like one page ago. But yeah, dig into them. Lay into them. Fossil fuels are dead. Literally and figuratively. We gotta move past it. Right? What do we think about that? Global warming? Isn't it a good thing? It'll be like Hawaii all over. What's wrong with that? This is what some Americans actually believe. This is what some people actually believe. We're doomed. We're doomed. I don't know what's worse. The fact that there's people who are deniers, who make that exact same dumbass joke of, it's global warming, why is it snowing? Every single year, which drives me crazy. Or the people who unironically say things like this. Isn't it a good thing? I could stand with a little more global warming. Dumbasses. And not only are they saying things like this, but they're actually investing in this way too. There's some very powerful people with this opinion. Not maybe so naively that, oh, it'll be like Hawaii everywhere, isn't that a good thing? But buying up land that they know will be more valuable after rising water, after adjusting climate, things like that. Isn't that frustrating? Isn't that so frustrating that there's people who are gleefully banking on our demise, banking on global climate catastrophes? It's almost like this whole system is just fundamentally broken. Anyways, the Earth gets warmed and Russia's gloomy-ass president will lighten up. Look at Putin! Oh, look at the way Putin is drawn! Comrade Putin! He'll happily return the northern territories back to Japan. No! None of that will happen. Oh, man. And his brother's like demented, giddy smile in the background here is just so funny. Oh, this is just great. And when they are returned, pineapples will grow on the islands, and they'll be like the southern territories. But what about the southern territories then? If the northern islands, which Russia currently owns, are returned to Japan as these paradises of earth, where pineapples are just sweetly growing out of the ground for you to pluck and what about the southern islands that were already warm and tropical? What is Okinawa going to be? I'll tell you what Okinawa is going to be. A desert. And the parts that aren't desert are going to be awash with seawater. GG. No read. What about the crabs? What had happened to them? They'll become as big as that crab sign in Osaka. Also true. There's very crazy things happening in the water. Certain types of jellyfish, especially, are thriving in hotter and more acidic oceans. And I think crustaceans are doing better too. And the reason crustaceans are doing better is because a lot of shit is dying. And they're detritivores. They go around sea bottoms eating corpses and plant waste and things like that. And there's a lot more of that because everything in the ocean is dying. So it's not a good thing that crustaceans are getting huge and widespread. I mean, it's a slightly good thing if you like seafood. Who among us doesn't? I love crab, but I don't want to eat crab at the cost of biodiversity in the ocean. And it's not an unlimited thing of growth, too. Eventually, the rate of corpse creation isn't going to be so high because there's simply not enough things to die. And then those crabs will go back to starving. This is all it's nothing but good things. If the North are like that, then Tokyo will become hell on earth. Yes, Kurosawa gets it. A wise man. A wise man. Keep burning them as usual. You go all out with oil and natural gas. He says skeptically, rightfully skeptically. But Mr. Gas says no. Now is the time for self-restraint. We should abstain from mining. I'm just joking. They're actually thinking about the earth. It's too cheap. We should let places with no other merits, like Russia and the Middle East, mine theirs. The United States should not be aimlessly using its wealth of underground resources. We gotta endure it. Ooh, boy. Now this is actually a new take. This is one that I have not heard so explicitly espoused, at least. Let me think about this. Right now, when there's still oil elsewhere in the earth, places with no other merits still have oil. It makes things cheaper, makes oil cheaper. So therefore, America, who can make money through other means, should wait and only sell their oil when the entire planet is desperate for it. You know, I wonder if this is a little more widespread than it seems, and that this American obsession with oil isn't just for the short term of we don't want and oil and coal and all of the other burnable, non-renewable energy sources. I always thought that this was like a very short-term thing, that America is set up to do that now, and that people are already working there now, and that all of the big companies are situated in this. And I always kind of thought like you dumbasses, like why aren't you just investing in renewable energy? Why aren't you reskilling into renewable energy jobs? Eventually, we're gonna run out, so like something's got to give eventually. But it makes a little more sense if they have this long view, quote unquote, where they simply don't use those resources until the world is globally desperate and they become much, much more valuable. They're investing in the long term growth of oil's value, which therefore means banking on the failure of renewable energy and nuclear energy and any other alternative energy source, right? So it's not just about we need to continue drumming up support for fossil fuels because that's what we're set up to do. It's that we can't let the global demand shift away from fossil fuels because then their value is actually going to go down instead of rapidly up. I don't like it. I don't like it because it's actually a more sustainable mindset. It means that there's actually going to be a much more of a propagandic type war about what sort of energy source we should use, rather than one that's kind of just based on the facts. You know, because the fact is we're going to run out of fossil fuels, and I thought at least then something would happen. But if there's fossil fuel hoarders that have still convinced the world that fossil fuels are the only way to go, then there's